The Wahi have lived in this valley for 2,500 years or more. Wheat is the staple crop, and mid-September is harvest time. It feels like I've stepped into the Middle Ages. The valley is only a few miles wide. There's no room to graze sheep as well as grow crops. So earlier in the summer, the Wahi divided into two teams. Some stayed down here in their villages to farm, while others went up to the mountain pastures to herd. It's a tough 20-mile trek up to the shepherds. The film crew and I are not exactly travelling light, so we've hired some pack animals and their owners to help us on the final leg of our journey. Yaks are the Wahi's 4x4s. These hairy, cow-like beasts can cover almost any terrain, though at a rather gentle, sedate pace.
It's this route that many of the Wakhan shepherds will take at the beginning of every summer to bring their flocks up to the good grazing lands.
These mountain paths were once used by merchants following the Silk Road from Europe to China. Marco Polo passed close by. He described how wild animal horns marked the route, and it doesn't look like much has changed since he was here almost 800 years ago. After trekking for 6 hours, we're halfway to the summer pastures. We stop for the night at a shepherd's hut. I wake up to a light dusting of snow. My first night under canvas was very cold, and the thin mountain air is having a strange effect on my body. I'm doing this because we're at 4,000 metres and I always swell up at altitude. It's nice, isn't it? But there's no time to worry about a puffy face. I want to get to the pastures as soon as possible, so we pick up the pace. We stop to rest the animals, and I show the men some pictures from my farm.
These are Welsh sheep, not Wakhan sheep, they're Welsh sheep.
With all the troubles in the rest of Afghanistan, I want to know what life is like for the Wahi. Is it very hard up in the mountains?
تقریبا نیستیم به خاطر از اینکه ما از طرف جنگ از طرف مثلا چیزی از تمام حساب از مثلا دورالوتان آدم کشی از این گپا ما دستوردار هستیم یک خنکی سرمای زمستان یک
بود است برادر هیچ نون ندیدن.
The Wahi may be far from the horrors of war, but living here is by no means easy. At 4,600 metres, we get our first spectacular view of the mountain pastures, known as the Big Pamir.
Well, this is what we've climbed to see, this giant U-shaped valley, a flat expanse of rich grazing land, and every bit of it will be used by the Wakhan shepherds.
There may be plenty of space for animals, but it looks more like a moonscape than lush pasture. We drop down into the Big Pamir. Ahead of us, at last, is Malungdung, one of the Wahi's summer camps. I want to find out what it's like to herd in a world that is very different from mine, and this is a far cry from the Welsh hills.
The Wakhan have an association, and we have one of the members travelling with us, and he's gone ahead on a horse to let the village know that we're arriving and hopefully to give us permission to enter the village. As you can see, there are definitely sheep here, so that's a good thing. However, what's not so good is what's coming along the valley behind us, which looks like the beginnings of a snowstorm. So I think we have to hope that they will let us stay at least for one night. Salam alaikum. Salam.
We've been given the okay to stay in the camp.
Salam alaikum. Oh, wow. Salam alaikum. So this is your son? Yeah? And this? And your son? And this? This is your husband? I love their decoration.
Yeah.
Some old sweet wrappers add a splash of colour to the yurt. Choi, local tea, is prepared.
So this is salt?
This is milk.
Yeah.
This is tea.
Yeah.
Salty tea may not sound very appetising, but I'm desperate for a cuppa.
Oh, so good. What is the word for good? What is it? Hot for good. Delicious. Hob. 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 Okay.
Flat bread baked in the fire is handed out.
That's very nice bread.
Very nice bread.
Visitors, however unexpected, are always made to feel welcome.
The sheep and the yaks are just coming in for the night. And they go into the enclosures, is that right?
Enclosures.
Yeah. Why do you bring them in at night?
Shopped it.
There's a price to pay for bringing animals up to this mountain wilderness. Predators. The temperature plummets to minus 15 degrees centigrade. It's too cold for the shepherds to stay up and guard their animals, but the flock is not without protection. Dogs have taken care of the night shift. These are not pets, they spend their lives outside, and their ears are clipped short so predators cannot latch onto them in a fight. As well as wolves, the shepherds and their dogs need to protect the flock from snow leopards and bears.
What is the most dangerous animal for you when you are living up here in the Pamir?
Last year, wolves killed 8 animals here in Malangdon. The Wakhi's herds are key to their survival, and this kind of loss can seriously affect a family's chance of making it through the winter. Every day, just after sunrise, the herd is driven out onto the hills.
So I'm going out today with one of the men of the village, Panchambe. His name means Thursday.
Only a few of these animals actually belong to Panchambe. The men take it in turns to go out shepherding, so today he's in charge of the whole flock, all 200 of them. We climb up the valley, far from the camp, but I can't see any improvement in the pasture. The grass is still low, brown and scrubby.
This isn't a lush, green Welsh pasture like my sheep are used to. And yet these animals look like they're in the peak of condition, they're fat, they look healthy, and something that I'm incredibly envious of is that not a single one of them is limping.
It's been really wet back at home. My sheep have been plagued by foot rot, but none of these animals are showing any sign of it. Sheep were first domesticated in the hills of Turkey, Iran and Iraq around 12,000 years ago, and they do seem to thrive in this kind of dry, mountainous terrain.
Come on, you lot at the back.
But summer is nearly over. There's a long, lean winter ahead. These sheep have adapted to a life of feast and famine by storing reserves in their fatty hindquarters.
There you go. Still can't quite get over this. Something vaguely obscene about those bottoms.
After a morning grazing on the slopes, the animals are brought back to the camp to be milked. One of the women, Nisa, is struggling to get used to our strange ways. Young animals are kept apart from their mothers during the day to stop them drinking all the milk, but they're briefly reunited now.
They allow the lambs to keep feeding to stimulate the production of the milk, but they also take some themselves.
It's a very efficient system. Lambs are kept happy and healthy, and the women get as much milk as possible.
There's something really lovely about being with people who handle animals with such sort of confidence, and I mean, it really is second nature.
The animals are driven back out onto the slopes. They'll spend the rest of the day grazing before they're brought home for the night. The next job is bread baking. First, we need fuel for the fire. There are no trees up this high, but there's a never-ending supply of yak dung. The herders come back to this camp every year, so there are stone huts here as well as yurts.
It's quite smoky in here, isn't it? The dung, it makes a lot of smoke in your eyes. So it is flour, water, salt. The lid goes on. Okay, so you put the hot dung on top of the lid, and that cooks the bread.
Bread with tea is the Wakhi staple. It's the only thing many people eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner, day after day, week after week. Traders from the west of the province arrive in camp. It's taken them 25 days to cross the mountains.
And why did you come here? So are there many traders that, like you, that come to this area to buy animals? And do you come here because the Wakhi people have very good animals?
These men may get a good deal up here, but this is the only way the Wakhi have of earning any money. Nisa has a few yaks, and she's sold one to the trader.
So are you happy today because you sold a yak?
She said I'm unhappy.
You are unhappy?
Yeah.
Why? So this was a good yak for her. She didn't want to sell?
Yes.
As well as providing everyday necessities like milk and wool, the family's animals can be cashed in when times are hard. As long as they have their herd, they have the means to survive. The shepherds are highly mobile, migrating as the cold weather starts to set in. The Wakhi call these journeys the Kutch, and I've come here at the end of summer hoping to take part in one. Malungdan is low down and sheltered, and no one has any plans to move yet. But we've heard there is another camp where the people are getting ready to make a Kutch. So we pack our bags and say our goodbyes. Our destination is 4,500 meters above sea level and is the most remote settlement in the Big Pamir.
We're getting our first glimpse of the village now. And it is noticeably higher, not just because my legs ache, but because the air has a real biting chill to it. The sun may be bright, but the wind is coming straight off those snowy peaks.
The village is called Asan Katich. About 50 people live here, so it's almost twice the size of Malungdan. And we're in luck, they're getting ready to move, to make a Kutch. But there's a problem. Yesterday, we sent someone ahead to ask if we could film here, and we were given the okay. But now, some of the men seem less keen. We spend the rest of the day talking things through, waiting for a final decision. In a way, I totally understand the men's reluctance. How would we react if strangers turned up at our homes and asked to film us? But we were given such a warm welcome back in Malungdang. It seems strange that things could be so different up here.
It may be that this is just a very remote community. Even their village in the valley is very remote. They won't have seen a lot of foreigners. And so we think that, quite understandably, when we all turn up, they just think, what are you doing here? And what we hope is that maybe tomorrow they might feel more comfortable about us filming.
Next morning, things are still a bit tense. The men tell us we can film in the camp, but the women are off limits. But not everyone is happy with this decision. A woman called Begin says she wants to show me how to make food for the winter. No one, it seems, tells this lady what she can or cannot do. I'm immediately put to work.
So, in here, we have boiled milk. And we churn it, and what do we make?
Just making the butter now.
Making the butter now. Ah, okay. And we have this ingenious system of a sort of paddle and this leather strap. And we're churning it for, I'm not quite sure how long. I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to be able to last. She's incredibly strong and very feisty, this woman. You want me to do it now, just by myself?
Oh,
I'm not sure it's going to work. Okay, hold on, let me see. Like that. Like that. Very hard. I'm exhausted. And it seems that the summer is the time when all the dairy produce that they make is all made up here in the mountains and then stored and taken down to the village for the winter.
After many hours of churning, the fat of the milk separates out.
Ah, so this is the butter?
Yes.
Comes from here?
Yeah.
Aha.
The remaining buttermilk is boiled again for a few hours and allowed to cool. The water is then squeezed out, leaving a moist, yogurt-like paste called krut.
Can I try? Buff. Very good. Very good yogurt. So it is a complete dairy yogurt, butter.
Nothing is wasted. Stale bread goes into the leftover residue and is given to the dogs.
Which one? Oh. All the dogs are going to get well fed tonight.
Everyone's been busy packing up, getting ready for the kutch. The chief has come up from the main village in the valley to oversee things. Crucially for us, he seems very relaxed that we're here, and he gives us his full support. We're given the okay just as the herd is driven back for milking, and as if by magic, the women appear.
What's so incredible is that you have kids as young as this, all helping, all manoeuvring the sheep and the goats. And you can see that they literally learn their craft from the moment they can walk.
But the young workers do get the odd break. Little girls have no dolls to dress, so they make do with goats instead.
So our breakthrough came. I'm so delighted that we're able to film here, and the day after tomorrow the whole village is going to move, and we'll get a sense of the true scale of the Kutch when everybody and all their livestock move down into the valley.
The Kutch will move the camp to a lower, more sheltered spot. But there's still lots of work to do before we leave. The women take to the roof for the next stage of winter food production. The krut paste, made from boiled buttermilk, has been drained and now needs to dry. From milking to churning to drying, making krut is what this time of year is all about.
So this is an important product that you make while you're here in the summer.
The krut is dried and bagged up. It should last for 6 months, just long enough to see everyone through the winter.
I don't want it to fall on your head.
The migration is going to be in 2 waves. An advance party will leave today. Everyone else, including Begin and myself, will follow on tomorrow. There's a lot of work to be done. The pressure is on.
Faster, okay.
Their livestock provide the Wahi with almost everything they need. Wool is compressed into felt panels, yak hair is twisted into ropes, and the animals themselves are removal vans. The advance party sets off down the Pamir, heading for warmer pastures.
Last minute, things that have been forgotten. Hang on a minute, you've left your coat. I could have been standing here 500 years ago and witnessed exactly that same scene.
Next morning, winter is beginning to bite. The snow makes it hard for the animals to graze, so the herd is immediately driven down the valley. There's lots to be done, and I try to make myself useful. The women and children are wearing their finest clothes, giving the occasion a festival air.
Are you pleased to be moving?
Rachish sakrochen yema tema khva yem babafcha ya was garib yim sart. Dauja. Hagar garmi miknat. Ali tarut bisud mishin nay sarni mikina mekhet bira qashla.
Yeah.
Salut bisi asar de bing sar ma dar mikin gushim dar. Oh gush.
Really? Not feeling so good today.
Finally, the most important cargo of all, a summer's worth of krut and butter.
This is a precious load. That represents hours and hours and hours of really physical labour. Oh, it's like sitting on a sofa with legs.
The yurts are down, the yaks are loaded, and our kutch begins.
A smooth ride. They seem to have built-in shock absorbers. So even over this very rough terrain, you feel like you're almost floating over it. So we get off here, yeah? Okay. Thank you, Yak. So we stay here, okay. Oh, so I think what's happening in the good tradition of any house move is that there will be tea. Wow, look at this. Oh, it's a perfect picnic. Tashakur.
We've passed close to another herding camp. The women come out bearing tea and bread. Only a few hundred Wahi shepherds live up here, spread out across a huge area. Moments like these forge bonds between disparate communities.
Okay. This feels like such an ancient tradition that has been held onto not for any romantic reasons, simply reasons that are practical. This is how these people live.
It's mid-afternoon by the time we get to Vagboy, a temporary herding camp at the foot of a huge scree slope.
You can see already that there's more pasture, there's more grass down here. It's definitely warmer. And so now is the big task of settling in, re-putting up the yurts, and yeah, making ourselves at home.
It's much harder putting a yurt up than taking it down. They are giant 3D jigsaw puzzles. Get the wrong pole in the wrong place and you have to start again from scratch.
Are you okay?
I help Barbigin move into the hut that will be her home for the next few weeks. The herd is driven into camp. Nothing gets in the way of milking. A few hours later, all the yurts are up and the smell of burning yak dung fills the air.
So what are you cooking, Begin?
This meal is only made on important occasions, religious festivals, funerals, and at the end of a kutch.
What have you put in here?
Special oil,
Yeah,
flour, little bit salt.
little bit salt.
Yes.
Very warm.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Life quickly returns to its normal routine. Mamad Ayub is repairing felt panels that were damaged on the kutch. This way of life feels timeless, but how long will it last? Do you think that your sons, children, will want to come to the Pamir to be shepherds?
Hey, chora sakarnast, ne? Ine sakagarne shpunig ne widran. Spotzen chora nastit. Spotzen kumoit nastit, kumagozan nast, kumotar nasti, cheese nast.
Is there one thing that you think would make life easier for the Wakhan?
The shaktishan po qadrata nast, poten iqtisad nastik sakaya cheese khubi dirzanet, khi iqtisadi pishund, tumre iqtisad poten nast. Ini ayam nafardrm say. Chandi klayam, yom badzinast 50 نفر فامیلیم. این آیا مال هایم خرچ بود نتر. سکاود چیزم پیشون دک بس وزین. سک کم دست مردم غریبه.
The Wakhan Corridor is the poorest district in the poorest province in one of the poorest countries in the world. It's hard to see how things can change, how life here could be made easier. It feels like the future for the Wakhi, for the next few decades at least, will be much the same as their past. The constant struggle to survive does take its toll. Is this a very hard life?
للمعد نيد كانن وريت كيف ترى هي كيف ترى عيال براي هي بزمان جرى ناقد رخنا وقعت ناقد رخنا
7 children.
ريني تقاعد دوري عندنا غام نمشي ay kafaram.
As many as 1 in 5 Wakhi children die before they reach their first birthday. Half of Wakhi children under 2 are malnourished. Because of the harsh conditions, average life expectancy for the Wakhi is only 35 years of age. Begin's life story is heartrending, so I'm touched when she says she now thinks of me as her honorary daughter.
فیروزان آمد وقتی گیم نامی ما تدختاری کلانی ما دعوت میریم یادش کن
I feel very honored to be Feroza.
Begin has no children up here to look after her, and she has few animals of her own. But she's been lent some sheep and goats by wealthier herders. She can milk them and breed from them before eventually returning the animals to their rightful owners. So she always has something to eat and something to do. In the absence of any outside help, the Wakhi have created a simple but effective welfare system.
ساكنة خوكي يمرا خيار استوت نجالتك وتانم رang. أيام مالم شبونيجم سريش. دار خو دار ترى.
It's my last day in the Pamir. We've brought a sheep and are throwing a farewell feast. The chief blesses the knife and the sheep's throat is cut.
So the fleece has come off in one very neat piece. I'm envious of their butchery skills.
When we kill a lamb in the UK, we throw as much as a fifth of it away. Here, everything goes in the pot. Brains, lungs, heart, every last drop of blood is savoured.
Tashakkur. Salam, salam.
Animals are only slaughtered on special occasions like marriages. They're too valuable to eat otherwise.
یاد بپرش نواز مدای دیگه وقت که برابر واسه تا خوب مفید غذیات فایده مثال همیشه وقتی که چای پو یا مثال خالی واسه چای او سن خوچی جونه
People here are lucky if they eat meat once a month. At home, we take it for granted, often eating meat once or twice a day. It's time to leave the big Pamir. It's been a real privilege to have experienced, for a short while, how the Wahi shepherds live.
فیروزه تشکر بخیر و سال آینده وقت بگیم فیروزه دیدنی
فیروزه وقت بگیم
ما فیروزه وقت بگیم
تشکر
تشکر تشکر تشکر تشکر
The Wahi may be some of the most traditional herders in the world, but there are lessons we can learn from them. As more and more sheep are raised worldwide using new technology and modern methods, I hope we don't forget all of the old ways about how to value our animals and use them efficiently and respectfully.